Okay, welcome back to English for You. I'm Seb.
And I'm Erin.
And we are talking about nature, aren't we? Some big events in nature. But
That's
one
right.
of the biggest events in nature right now is, of course, climate change.
Right.
Yes.
All right.
That's affecting everywhere, really, isn't it?
So we learned yesterday in our article that the rains are late this year, which is something that climate change is actually affecting these people and these animals in Africa. So this is one way that climate change is already affecting Earth. What are some other ways?
Well, I think one of the big ways that it's affecting Earth, or maybe this is more of a local problem, but one way you can definitely see the changes happening now are coral reefs. So if you know about coral, it is this living, it's almost like a living rock.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
And it's home to thousands and thousands of fish species. But huge amounts of this coral are dying away at the moment because of climate change.
Right.
And because they grow so slowly, we don't know if they will actually be able to grow back. So that is a big change which is happening because of climate change.
You can actually see that in Taiwan as well.
Yes.
Some ways that I've kind of seen it is just the way the weather patterns work. So, for instance, when I arrived in Taiwan in 2005, so 2005,
Long time.
The plum rains and the typhoons happened at a certain time. So May and June, plum rains, typhoons were July, August, maybe September. But now we're seeing plum rains either not coming at all or coming very late.
Like last year.
Or the past couple of years, actually. And the typhoon season changing from like September to even October, November now.
Yeah.
So the typhoons are coming. In Canada, my parents have always had a lot of snow in their area, but in the past 6 or 7 years, they've had 8 feet of snow every year for 6 months a year. And so it has never really been that bad, and now it's actually...
It's getting worse.
It's getting worse, you know.
Because it causes extremes, doesn't it? Climate change. Yeah.
That's what's happening. And so it's not just global warming in a way. It's the way that all of our weather patterns are becoming much stronger than they were in the past.
So it's affecting a lot, but it's obviously still affecting the wildebeest in East Africa. So on that note, let's go back to the day 2 of our article and find out how that is affecting the Great Migration.
Right.
Reading. The Great Migration. At long last, the rains come, but now the wildebeest face new problems. Lions, hyenas, vultures, and more are lying in wait. Lions grab the young and the weak, while hyenas and vultures eat what's left. Humans also hunt the wildebeest. This is illegal, but many locals need the meat. Ben talks to Masagiri, who has created an organization that hopes to stop this. It lends people money to help them start businesses so they don't need to hunt. Ben returns to the wildebeest, who are entering the mating season. The males are fighting while they gather females to mate with. The migration continues, but each new area holds new dangers. The herds cross the Mara River and become an all-you-can-eat buffet for the crocodiles. All they have to do is snap up the wildebeest as they cross. Though many die, more survive and return to the Serengeti. Before long, it'll be time for the Great Migration to begin again.
Okay, so we are back with the Great Migration, and our first line is, "At long last, the rains come, but now the wildebeest face new problems." Okay, so luckily the rains have come, but at long last they've come. That's another useful adverbial phrase, at long last. But what does it mean? Let's go over to Pocket Phrase Go and find out some more.
Pocket Phrase Go!
I defeated Jafar at long last. 哎呀，终于哦，我阿拉丁总算是击退了甲方了。我一个可怜的小男孩被甲方欺骗去危险的洞窟里拿神灯。哎呀，几经内心与体力的角力，总算呢在最后打败坏蛋甲方啦。最后怎么了？总算是怎么了？我们中文很常这样说，英文里面也是哦。我们呢就可以使用这个片语at long last， 或者是呢更简单一点的 at last， OK 也可以。比方说呢，我以前是乞丐，自从我当上王子以后呢，就开始关心民生问题，所以呢，人民就说我政府最后终于开始关注我们的问题啦。At long last, the government is starting to listen to our problems。或者是呢，像学生们大概呢都很不爱写作业吧。I've finished my homework.At last， 我终于把功课给写完了。哎呀，下次呢，功课写完的时候也用 at last 给自己欢呼一下吧。
All right, so after quite a while, the rains have finally arrived. So good news, but more problems. It says here, lions, hyenas, vultures, and more are lying in wait. So this isn't necessarily a problem directly affected by climate change. This is just the predators hunting the prey.
This is a wildebeest problem.
Yeah. All right, so those animals, lions, you'll recognize. Hyenas are kind of like a dog or a wolf, I guess, in some way, related to a bit different. Vultures are birds of prey. They often wait for animals to die and then attack the dead animals, sort of
they
thing.
do, they do, yeah.
And lots more animals are waiting for the wildebeest. So they are lying in wait. Now, when you lie in wait for something or someone, you hide so that you can attack that person or thing in surprise. Now, animals do this when they're hunting for prey. They don't want the other animal to see them because it will run away, you know? So if a lion lies in wait, it might try to hide itself in some tall grass until the best moment to catch its food, such as when an animal comes closer to it.
Exactly. And if you have a cat at home, you'll actually be able to see your cat doing this sometimes. If it sees, a bird or a mouse and it wants to catch it, it will kind of push itself down. It will be lying in wait. Back to the article. Lions grab the young and the weak, while hyenas and vultures eat what's left. Okay, so we just said the vultures go for the dead animals. That's what's left. But the lions are grabbing the live animals. So when we grab something, we take hold of it normally very suddenly and very violently. So the lions obviously aren't gently taking the young and the weak wildebeests away. They are taking them away very violently and very quickly because they want to eat them.
That is right.
That is right. So there are a couple of other grabbing words that we can use. We can talk about snatching something. That's also when you take something very quickly, maybe a little violently. Or you can tear something away from someone, which is quite dramatic, actually. This example sentence we could actually use with all three of those words. We could say, Tom grabbed his phone away from his sister. Stop reading my messages, he shouted. We could actually say that Tom snatched his phone away or Tom tore his phone away. So the past of tear is tore.
Right. Okay, we also saw a grammar pattern in that sentence. So we saw the young, and then we also saw the weak. Now, what we've done here was we've put the word the together with an adjective. Now, when we do this, when we add the to the front of an adjective, it actually becomes a noun that refers to a certain group of people. So it's considered a plural noun. So when you use it with a verb, you need to make sure that you use the correct verb. So for example, when we say the young, we're talking about all people, or animals in this case, that are young. We're saying the young, so all of the young animals. Now, in a sentence, we could say something like, this advertisement for toys targets the young because they are the ones that will want to buy the toys. So here, we're not just talking about one young person or the lions grabbing the young. Here, we're talking about any young animal that they can catch, right? So they're not going to catch all of the young animals at once. They're just going to catch the ones at the edges. Now, there are some cases when we do this, the new noun is used as a singular noun. So some examples of this are the deceased. Now, this is when we are talking about a person who has died. The latter, that's the last person in a list, or the last thing in a list. The former, that's the first thing in a list. And the accused. Now, the accused is a person who police think committed a crime.
He's accused of doing something.
Yes. Okay, so the latter, the former, the deceased, and the accused can be both singular or plural, so you have to listen carefully to the context. For example, the police arrested 3 people for the crime, and the accused will show up in court tomorrow. Now here, our context told us that the accused is actually 3 people. Now, in another sentence, we could say the police arrested a teenager for the crime, and the accused will show up in court tomorrow. Here, we're talking about one person, a teenager, so the accused is a singular noun. All right, now sometimes we can use the plus adjective to talk about abstract ideas. So not people or things that you can actually see or touch.
That's true.
So some examples of this are the mysterious, the familiar, or the unknown.
The great unknown.
Exactly. So these are just kind of ideas that we can think about, but you can't actually see them. Here's an example sentence. Many people stay in the same town their whole lives. They prefer the familiar to new situations. So the familiar is an idea of something you know about already, okay? And so here we're taking the adjective familiar, we're making it into a noun to describe that idea. Now, another time we use the plus an adjective is to talk about people from certain cultures. For instance, the English, or people from England, or the French would be people from France, or even the Taiwanese would be people from Taiwan.
Or the Russians are coming.
Yes.
Yeah. A bit ominous there.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so next sentence here, short, easy one. Humans also hunt the wildebeest. So,
Of course.
Of course. So we learned that in our last episode. Hunt, to kill an animal, normally to eat it, sometimes for sport.
Right. Okay, well, we're going to explain a bit more about this situation. It says, this is illegal, but many locals need the meat. When something is illegal, a country's law says that this thing is not okay, or that it's bad to do it. Now, if you do something illegal, you are breaking the law and can be arrested or get in some trouble. Now, some things that are illegal are stealing, hurting other people, driving drunk, etc.
Yeah, bad things you should not do.
Right.
We also learned about locals. We said the locals needed the meat. And a local is a person that was born and grew up in a certain area. So here in Taiwan, Erin and I don't call ourselves locals. Why not? Because we weren't born here and we didn't grow up here. We both came here as adults.
Right.
However, we traveled if I traveled to Canada with Erin, Erin would become a local. Because she is from there, and she could even be my local guide.
That's right.
Yes.
The adjective form.
The adjective form, yes. We can use local as an adjective. We just saw that. When it is an adjective, it just means something from a certain area. So stinky tofu is a local food here in Taiwan. We could even say it is a local favorite. I think it's pretty safe to say that. A lot of people like stinky tofu. I don't really agree with that personally, but whatever. Our example sentence for local as a noun, though, again, referring to people, is I find that the best way to explore a new city is to ask the locals what they like to do most.
Exactly. That's a great way to do it.
It is.
Let's find out who Ben is going to talk to in this group of locals. It says, Ben talks to Masagiri, who has created an organization that hopes to stop this. Okay, so this organization hopes to stop illegal hunting.
And an organization that's a group, isn't it?
Yeah.
So this group, this organization, it lends people money to help them start businesses so they don't need to hunt. Okay, that is very good, especially when we've got climate change changing the source of food so much. Even without the wildebeest, hunting is a bit of a dangerous source of food and income, you know. So it is lending money to these people. And when we lend someone money, we give them money so long as they promise to pay it back to us later. So banks lend money to people who want to buy very expensive things like cars or houses, because most of us can't just buy those with the money in our pocket, you know, they're very expensive. We could also, if we want that money, we can borrow that money. So that is the reverse of lend. So when we borrow some money, someone else gives us money so long as we promise to pay it back to them later. So if I say Sam lent Josie money, that meant Sam had the money first and then he gave it to Josie.
Right.
While if Sam borrowed money from Josie, it means that Josie had the money and she gave it to Sam.
Right.
Now, lending and borrowing isn't all about money. We can also lend and borrow things. So I could ask Erin to lend me a pen, or I could also borrow a pen from Erin. I'll have to give it back to her later, though.
Right.
Yes. So the bank lent Freddie 200,000 NT dollars so that he could buy a brand new car. Okay, so there's an example of using it with money again.
Right. All right. So it says here that Ben is talking to a person who's running this organization in order to stop illegal hunting of the wildebeest. Now that he's kind of finished doing that, we return to the wildebeest themselves. It says here, Ben returns to the wildebeest who are entering the mating season. So what they're going to start doing here now is they're going to start mating, which means that they want to have new calves and they kind of go through the process to do that.
And that is a word that we use with animals as opposed to people. We don't
Yes.
talk about mating with... So the next line in the article is the males are fighting while they gather females to mate with. Okay, so this is a very animal kind of behavior. I think with herding animals, you know, like wildebeest, bison,
Bigger
cows, bigger
animals
animals,
usually
they
fight.
do this.
Yeah.
They tend to fight. Okay, so they're gathering females to mate with. When we gather things, we collect them together so we have them all in one place. So the usage here is a little bit special. This is not normally the situation we use gather in, but the wildebeest, like other animals, such as lions do this as well, like to gather lots of female animals together during the mating season.
Right.
Basically, the stronger the male, the more females he mates with.
And that means the more babies they'll have.
And the more babies they'll have. And that's how these species continue, because the strongest ones have more children.
Right.
So we don't just gather animals, though, especially not for mating.
Right.
Here's a good example of a more everyday usage of gather. So it's almost lunchtime. Could you gather the children and tell them to come inside?
Okay.
Now, we can always also use gather as an intransitive verb, so that's without an object. You'll see that until now I've been saying gather something, but we can say gather on its own, and that means to come together in a crowd. So the protesters gathered outside the mayor's office and shouted for him to come inside.
Come outside.
Come outside, yes.
All right. So both transitive and an intransitive verb there.
Yes.
All right. Well, continuing on in the article, it says the migration continues, but each new area holds new dangers. So different animals, different problems, different humans hunting them probably. So what kind of new dangers are they experiencing now?
Well, the herds cross the Mara River and become an all-you-can-eat buffet for the crocodiles. That is a danger.
Crocodiles.
Those crocodiles with their crocodile tears. So they're crossing the Mara River. And when we cross something, we go from one side of it to the other. So you do this all the time. Every morning on your way to school, you probably cross the street at some point. Or you go from one side of the street to the other side. So you're crossing the street. You might even cross a river too, but unlike the wildebeest, you won't be swimming through it and you won't be dodging crocodiles. You'll probably just drive over a bridge.
Right.
Yes. So cross we can use in different ways, actually. It has lots of meanings. In mainly British English, we can use cross to mean to be angry. So Mum was very cross with me when I didn't clean my room. So she was very angry with me. Or we could actually say, this is a good phrase, you could cross your heart and hope to die.
That reminds me of my childhood.
Yes, it's kind of a bit of a childish thing to say, but it means I promise this is really true. So I say something that Erin doesn't quite believe, and I say, cross my heart and hope to die. It means that it really is true. It really is true. Please believe me.
Yeah.
Going back to cross in its main usage, to get to the next MRT station, you'll need to cross this bridge and turn left on the other side.
You can't finish the sentence without talking about this all-you-can-eat buffet for the crocodiles. All right, so a buffet is actually just a type of meal where all the food is located in one spot and then people serve themselves by choosing what they want to eat and taking their meals sort of back to their tables.
It's very popular in Taiwan, isn't it?
Yeah,
There's a lot of
so
buffet
you
restaurants.
go to the middle somewhere to get your food, and then you go back to your table. There's no real waiters, or no one's sort of coming from the kitchen with your food. All the food's together. Now, an all-you-can-eat buffet is a sort of restaurant where you pay a certain amount, maybe 800 NT, and then you eat everything you want or you can for a certain amount of time. Maybe you'll get 2 hours to eat as much food as you want.
Yes.
Now, when the food runs out, the cooks sort of bring out more food, put it in the middle, and then people can keep eating it. Now, what we're saying for an all-you-can-eat buffet for these crocodiles is now that all of the wildebeest are sort of in one area, they're drinking the water, they're crossing the river.
They're not great swimmers.
They're not great swimmers. The crocodiles have it easy. They can eat as many of these wildebeest as they can catch.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, here's another example. My mother doesn't like to eat at buffets. She doesn't think they're clean or healthy.
Okay, so the crocodiles are at their all-you-can-eat buffet, and all they have to do is snap up the wildebeest as they cross.
Easy.
Okay. Yes, because the wildebeest have to cross to the other side to get to their food.
Right.
So the crocodiles are snapping them up. To snap something up, that's a phrase. When the crocodiles snap up the wildebeest, they are biting into them very quickly and very suddenly. So we use the word snap here. It's quite descriptive because the crocodile's long mouths snap together quickly and powerfully.
Yes.
So almost like you're clapping your arms together. That kind of, they're biting in that way.
Right.
So we can also use snap up to mean to take an opportunity or to buy something immediately, probably because it's very cheap or there's not many available. So if you see a smartphone for under 3,000 NT dollars, you should snap it up immediately because it won't be around for long.
Nope.
Everybody's going to want a phone that cheap. But we could also say Ron did so well in the job interview that he was snapped up immediately. So Ron wasn't eaten by the interviewers. No,
Nope.
he got the job just like that.
Right. All right. So we see here, though many die, more survive and return to the Serengeti. Now, when you think about that, of course, the crocodiles are eating as many wildebeest as they can. But if there are 12,000 new wildebeest every day,
It's a lot of wildebeest.
then many of them are going to die, of course, but of course, even more are going to return and cross the river safely and get back to eating their delicious grass.
It's the great circle of life.
Right.
Yes. So before long, it'll be time for the Great Migration to begin again. So before long, we have another adverbial phrase there, which means soon or in a short time. So the article is saying that the Great Migration will start again very soon because it happens every year. It happens with the
twice
seasons.
a year. Yeah, because they have to go back.
because they have to come back. Of course, they have to go back. They're not going to get an Uber.
Yeah.
No. Nope, they're not. Okay,
no
so
Ubers for these wildebeest.
no Ubers for the wildebeest. So our example sentence for before long there is, we don't have time to stop for coffee right now. Our train will be here before long. So we could also use before long to say, before long this article will end, because unfortunately we are at the end of our article and at the end of our time, but we have just enough time to go and check out one last For You chat. So let's do that now.
For You Chat.
All right, today's For You chat question, something I feel quite strongly about. Would you prefer to see animals in the wild or animals at the zoo, and why?
Well, I think it's quite an easy one to answer this one. I would like to see them in the wild.
Yes.
But I think it's do you want the short answer or the long answer? The short is wild. But there are some animals that really don't like to be around humans. They're not very comfortable with them. Elephants, for example, do not, most of the time, do not like to be near people. So you shouldn't do elephant tours, for example, where you're up close and touching them or stroking them. They like to be on their own.
Right.
And so I think that in that case, for example, it might be better to see an elephant which is in captivity because it's one that's more used to people, one which you're not bothering it or disturbing its rhythm, like its daily life.
Right.
What about you?
I actually feel very strongly against zoos and keeping animals in captivity. I do understand why it happens. I don't believe in zoos for profit.
Okay,
I believe if you have to keep an animal in captivity, it should be done for scientific reasons, to study conservation, rescue animals, for example. So if animals are rescued from circuses or that, we need to put them in areas. But I believe that these places should have sufficient space, resources that the animals require. So, for example, I went to a zoo in the U.S. last summer, and I was watching an elephant, and the elephant was just walking around in a circle, just over and over. And I walked by the elephant at one point. An hour later, I walked by the elephant again. Same thing, just moving around in a small circle, and just looking sad. And that's a thing that happens.
They need so much space as well.
Right. You need a certain amount of space. Imagine how much space you need as a human. What would happen to you in captivity if you didn't have space to move around? Now think about how much space an elephant needs and how much you need, how much that elephant needs to feel mentally healthy, right? So I'm kind of back and forth on this issue, but we are way out of time.
Yeah.
You guys have to go and talk about this question
How
too.
do you feel about this?
Exactly.
There's a lot to say on this one.
All right. So share your opinions with your classmates, with your teacher, with your friends, and talk about it. But we will see you again next time because we are saying goodbye. So
We
for
are.
English for You, I'm Erin.
And I'm Seb.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The Great Migration. At long last, the rains come, but now the wildebeest face new problems. Lions, hyenas, vultures, and more are lying in wait. Lions grab the young and the weak, while hyenas and vultures eat what's left. Humans also hunt the wildebeest. This is illegal, but many locals need the meat. Ben talks to Masagiri, who has created an organization that hopes to stop this. It lends people money to help them start businesses so they don't need to hunt. Ben returns to the wildebeest, who are entering the mating season. The males are fighting while they gather females to mate with. The migration continues, but each new area holds new dangers. The herds cross the Mara River and become an all-you-can-eat buffet for the crocodiles. All they have to do is snap up the wildebeest as they cross. Though many die, more survive and return to the Serengeti. Before long, it'll be time for the Great Migration to begin again.
Vocabulary Review.
Grab. I was walking down the street when somebody suddenly grabbed my phone and ran away. Local. We asked Jim for directions to our hotel because he's a local and he knows the city well. Lend. I lent Allison some money yesterday so she could buy lunch. Gather. After school, my friends and I usually gather in a nearby bookstore to talk and read books. Cross. You shouldn't cross the road when the light is red. Buffet. I like going to buffets because there is always a large number of dishes to choose from.
以上节目是由活用空中美语制作，活用空中美语杂志，请洽询全国各大书店。如欲索取试听教材，请来电02-2364-4000 02-2364-4000，或上网查询，网址是 www.english4u.net www.english4u.net